Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa sallallahu sallam wa barak ala rasulillahi amma ba'd. Now we get into the first concept, or the first main concept of the three of the book, which is memorization, how to memorize, how to preserve. And before we move forward, mentioning the kalam of the author, the speech of the author, we have to understand that memory is one of the greatest gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to man. Memory and preservation of information, of facts, colors, tastes, smells, places, names, feelings, emotions, expressions is considered to be up there along with the ni'mah of aql, of intellect, which obviously intellect and memorization, they are connected, they are related, but they're not absolutely the same, but they are related. But the ni'mah of hifd is up there. All right, with the concept having the ability to preserve something and keep it in your head, keep it with you in your heart for years to come, and to recognize a place or a taste or a color, to be familiar with something, or some people say deja vu, okay, to recollect, all right, is an amazing gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to man. That's in general. When it comes to the Muslim, and when it comes to the student of knowledge, and the smallest of all the rings, when it comes to the student of hadith, the disciple, the memory is considered to be your bread and your butter. It's considered to be your staple porridge for breakfast. It's the thing that you can never ever do without. It's the thing that separates you from others. It's the thing that allows you to retain information, to walk around with information. Okay? It allows you to preserve what Allah Azza wa Jal promised to be preserved. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. We indeed have sent down the dhikr, and certainly we shall preserve it. And the dhikr includes the sunnah as well. The ulama of Islam say that the dhikr, obviously initially being the Quran al-Kareem, and some say that included in the dhikr is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And others, they say if the dhikr is not, or what's meant here by dhikr is not the sunnah, then surely if the sunnah is the exegesis of the Quran, its interpretation, its physical application, how to properly deal with the Quran, then if the Quran is going to be preserved, the words, then obviously the interpretation and the meaning and the application have to be preserved as well, the sunnah. So when you memorize a hadith, or you memorize 10 hadiths, or a book of hadith, 40 hadith, or 100 hadiths, you memorize a book, you're, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, from those who are chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hopefully to be of those who take part in this hifd of the dhikr. So don't forget that. Don't scorn your memory. Now the author is going to get into the different techniques of, or the times and the places, and how much to memorize and things like this, with very beneficial points. But what's important is memory is a skill, and before it's a skill, it's actually a talent. It's something that you're born with. Some people have a natural ability to memorize more than others, naturally. Others have less. Some people have to develop their power of memory. Some people who are born with a great ability to memorize, and they're trained thoroughly and properly, and years go by in their training, and they become even better. Nurun ala nur. Yahdillahu li nurihi man yasha. Allah says, light upon light, and Allah guides His light those whom He wills. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. But don't become discouraged if your memory isn't that strong from the beginning. Don't become downcast if your memory isn't as powerful as you would like it to be, because it can be developed through constant training, through constant practice, through constant study, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, Islamically, and through secular ways as well. Now, and also, if you're not born with a super duper powerful memory bank, then that's fine, because that what you lack in memory, you can compensate and make up for in understanding or other fields of intelligence. There are people who memorize things, but they're not necessarily that intelligent. And vice versa. Obviously, the best are those who have a combination of both, a strong combination of both. But with regards to the different types of strength, inner and outer strength, we know that the outer strength is limited. We know that the outer strength, it dissipates, it fades with time. The more you take from it, the more you weaken it. Sometimes memory is like that. Okay, even though the power of the mind is different than the power of the body, but it's similar. As you get older, your memory will become less sharp. It doesn't necessarily have to fade totally. It doesn't have to go away totally, but it's not as sharp when you were younger. But the understanding, wisdom, and savvy, that's something that only gets better with age, like cheese or like wine. The older it is, the better that it gets. All right. So these are just important points with regards to memorization. Another very important piece of advice is jealousy, envy, which we've spoken about in many classes, and also in our 40 Hadith on seeking knowledge, is envying people who have a stronger memorization than you do. All right. Understanding is one thing, intelligence is one thing, perseverance is one thing, which someone could envy another person for. But oftentimes the hifd is considered to be the physical beauty, the muscles of the body that someone clearly sees and envies outwardly. All right. So beware of envying people that have a better ability to memorize than you, and also beware of your friends, beware of your colleagues, beware of your teachers, beware of someone envying you because of your ability to memorize. So you have to be modest, okay, and mindful. Khair, inshallah. The concept of memory is a long discussion. Let's stick to the book بإذن ta'ala. The author says, كيف تحفظ؟ هناك أسباب كثيرة تقدم لك في الأسباب السابقة أنها مشتركة في كل أمر في الحفظ والفهم والقراءة والتبليغ وغيرها، وأذكر هنا بعض الأسباب المساعدة والمساندة، وهي خلاصة عن قراءة وتجربة، ولا فقد يكون المتكلم أحوج لذلك من السامعين من ذلك. The author, he says, we've mentioned many things, different points, different pieces of advice that are general for memorizing, reading, and understanding, passing on knowledge, etc. He says, now I'm going to mention some points of advice that will help you out, that are based off of my experiences, all right? Even though I need them more than those who are listening to me. Khair, inshallah. The author, he says, first and foremost, أولا اختيار الوقت المناسب. He says, choosing the appropriate time. Choosing the appropriate time to memorize. So we see from the author's view is that memorization should not be done all of the time or in any time, but it should be done in a specific time. And not just a specific time, but an appropriate time. There's a difference between the two now when we precisely look at it. A specific time could be in the morning, 8 a.m. every day, but it doesn't mean that's the best time and the most appropriate time. Doesn't mean that's the, as we say, prime time. Doesn't mean that. So there's a difference. The author says the time which is appropriate. أحيانا يكون الذهن مشغولا بمشاغل حسية ومعنوية يريد الإنسان أن يحفظ ولا يستطيع فيصاب بنوع من الإحباط، والسبب في ذلك عدم اختيار الوقت المناسب. ولهذا فمن أسباب تيسير الحفظ بعد توفيق الله تعالى دائما أن تختار وقتا مناسبا وأنت خلي من الصوارف الحسية والمعنوية. ولهذا لاحظ كيف أن الخشوع في الصلاة يتنافى مع أن يصلي المرء وهو جائع أو عطشان أو يريد النوم. ولهذا يقول ابن القيم رحمه الله تعالى عندما تكلم عن قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يقضي القاضي حين يقضي وهو غضبان، قال أما الإغلاق فقد نص عليه صاحب الشرع، والواجب حمل كلامه فيه على عمومه اللفظي والمعنوي، فكل من أغلق عليه باب قصده وعلمه كالمجنون والسكران أو المكره والغضبان فقد تكلم في الإغلاق. ومن فسره بالجنون أو بالسكر أو بالغضب أو بالإكراه فإنما قصد التمثيل لا التخصيص. ولو قدر أن اللفظ يختص بنوع من هذه الأنواع لوجب تعميم الحكم بعموم العلة، فإن الحكم إذا ثبت لعلة تعد بتعديها وانتفى بانتفائها. انتهى كلام ابن القيم. The author, he says, oftentimes a person's mind is busy. A person's mind is tied up, okay, with tangible things and non-tangible things, or metaphysical things, physical and metaphysical. Something that you're thinking about, you're stressed, you're tired, you're hungry, you're sad. A person's sexual desires are aroused, okay? Anything that's on your mind, that's busying your mind and tying your mind down. He says a person wants to memorize, but he can't. He can't. And when he tries to memorize, he keeps falling and falling flat on his face. And the reason behind this is not picking the appropriate time. He says not picking the appropriate time. Pause, stop the tape here. We say is not only not just picking the appropriate time, but also lack of concentration and lack of focus. And this is worth saying it's not the author's kalam. You may have the appropriate time, the best time, but you're still not focusing because you allow your mind to drift off and you allow your mind to pick up a pair of wings and fly off. You allow your mind to grab a set of wheels and drive off. You start thinking about food or drink or what is my family doing in America? I'm in Medina. Oh, I wonder what my mom is doing. I wonder who's playing basketball right now or who's in the Super Bowl or who's in the playoffs. How many touchdowns did Tom Brady throw this season? And how many interceptions did Fulan throw? This is a reality. Instead of focusing on what you're supposed to be focusing on. So we're adding is that it's just not about the appropriate time or appropriate place, but you have to focus. And focus is a skill and a talent or a talent and a skill. Some people are naturally more focused than others. Some people have to develop their focus. You have to force your mind to stay where you tell it to stay. It's like a dog. A trained hunting dog. The ulama of Islam, they say you cannot hunt with a dog unless it's trained. And that training is that it does not move until you tell it to move. And when you tell it to stop, it stops. You say put it down, it puts down the game. That's how your mind has to be. You have to control your thoughts. And you have to make your mind stay still when you want it to stay still. Obviously, this is an advanced technique. It doesn't happen overnight. But you have to try. And the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one footstep. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah in his book Ad-Da' wa Dawa, he speaks about the power of thoughts and how thoughts lead to sins and how from the ways of shaitan attacking the slave is attacking his thoughts and getting him to think about the haram and then desiring it and then performing it. Wa'iyadhu billah. So concentration, focus, as we say, sakina, stillness of the mind, is crucial when you're talking about memorizing something. No one can truly understand this except those who memorize a lot and those who have to read and recite what they have memorized or have to perform. The importance of having a still mind, of locking everything out and sitting still and making your mind stay put where you want it to stay put. Thinking, but at the same time not thinking. All right? This is a very important concept here. So the author, he says, people not choosing the appropriate time. He says, from the reasons of having a stronger memory and memorizing more, after Allah's tawfiq, first and foremost, we can never ever forget that no matter what type of tangible things we study, it all comes from Allah. The barakah is from Allah. The success is only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, awwalan wa akhiran, in the beginning and in the end. When you're a beginner and when you're a master of knowledge, and you're in the language program and you have a PhD, it's only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, it's for you to pick an appropriate time and that you have the different distractions far from your mind. He says, look at the salah and look at how when a person prays, he prays with khushu'. And the khushu' is like water and oil when it comes to being hungry or having to use the bathroom or being sleepy and tired. Okay? The hadiths in which the Prophet ﷺ says, وَلَا صَلَاةَ أَوْ لَا صَلَاةَ بِحَضْرَةِ الطَّعَامِ أو بِحَضْرَةِ طَعَامِ. When food is there is no prayer. وَلَا وَهُوَ يُدَافِعُهُ الْأَخْبَثَانِ. Nor is he to use the bathroom nor is he to pray when he has to use the bathroom. Because you won't be able to focus. There's a physical or mental major distraction here. He says, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala states, speaking about the Prophet ﷺ statement, that the qadi, the judge, is not to make judgment when he is angry. He should avoid delivering and passing a ruling when he is angry. He says, as far as the word ighlaq, and the word ighlaq linguistically means shutting. It means closing, shutting, closing something. Aghlaqa yughliqu ighlaqan. Now let me say, وغلقت الأبواب. طيب. So the word ighlaq, he says, is something that the Sahib al-Shara, the Prophet mentioned. And it's mandatory to keep it as the Prophet mentioned. Is that it's the linguistic meaning and the general technical meaning. And anyone who's quote unquote shut out or trapped out or locked up because of mental illness, junoon. He goes mad, becomes crazy, he becomes okay, or intoxication, sakr. He says, or one is coerced, one is forced to do something, or one is extremely angry, then he should not speak. If you speak in any of these times of emotions, then you have spoken in ighlaq. All right. He says, as for those who say that it only means for a person to be mentally insane, crazy, okay, or a person to be angry or drunk, he says that's only examples, and that doesn't restrict the ruling. He's basically saying is that anything that clouds your judgment, that covers your eyes and your ears, that comes between you and an accurate, logical, unbiased judgment, the qadi has to avoid. Everybody understand this? And look at the beauty of this now. We talk about seeking knowledge and making a ruling as well. Okay? Someone getting the death penalty, someone being guilty or innocent, someone being divorced, your marriage doesn't count, or talking about somebody, a sheikh or a scholar or a da'iyah. When your judgment is colored, you can't see clearly because of your emotions. That's why if you don't have control over your emotions, you're unsuited to be a judge, you're unsuited to be an imam, you're unsuited to be a leader of people. If you speak out of rage, if you speak out of emotion and hurt and tenderness, no, there is no or or it's none of that. It's what needs to be done. Okay, we go to war because that's what's beneficial for the state. We stay away from war because that which is beneficial for the state. He's guilty because of the proofs and evidences. He's innocent because of the proofs and evidences, even though I think he's guilty in my heart. Or I may know that he did the crime, but I can't prove it. So the concept of emotion, anger, rage, lust, these things, they cloud and they color one's judgment. And that is why the wise man supposedly said, never hate your enemy because it colors your judgment. So don't hate your enemy. Now one may say, how can I not hate my enemy? He's my enemy. He never said don't fight your enemy. He never said don't wage war against him. He never said don't crush your enemy. He says don't hate him. In other words, don't make it personal, because then you do things rashly and you make decisions that are illogical, make decisions that go against reason or go against strategic movement. Everybody understand this? You can't do this. So you have to have a cool, logical brain, like a chess player, as they say. Cool and logical. And the same applies to memorizing. If your mind is not right, then you'll find it difficult to memorize. But when your mind is in the right state, bid'nai ta'ala, hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, it will be easier. That's what Ibn Qayyim is saying here. He's saying anything in the Sharia which causes a person to lose his focus and his concentration, to lose his mental wellness, then he is to avoid making a ruling, and as ighlaq. Khairan, inshallah. The author then says, ولهذا من أراد أن يحفظ فعليه أن يختار الوقت المناسب فيكون مهيئا نفسيا وذهنيا وليس بمشغول ولا غضبان ولا مهموم. He says anyone who wishes to memorize, then he has to pick the appropriate time for his nafs to be prepared, mentally and spiritually prepared, and not to be busy, not to be preoccupied, not to be angry or stressed. وهذا الشيء مجرب ولهذا تجد أن بعض الناس يحفظ كثيرا مع قلة أوقاته وبعض الناس لا يحفظ إلا القليل مع كثرة أوقاته فإذا قارنت وفارقت وجدت أن السبب بعد توفيق الله هو اختيار الوقت المناسب وأن ذلك من أنفع الأسباب لتيسير أمر الحفظ. The author says this is something which is based off of experience. Okay, it isn't something that's mystical or something that is imaginative. He says this is a reality. He says you find people who only have a little bit of time, but they memorize more. And you'll find people who have a lot of time, but they memorize less. And when you compare, when you analyze, you break it down, you'll find the main reason after Allah's success, first and foremost, once again we repeat that again, it's the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, don't ever forget, you may go to this prestigious university and not do well. You may go to a university that's not prestigious and you may do well. Based off of what Allah gives, you may not travel and you may do well. He says is that they choose the appropriate time. And this is one of the things which makes a person's memory or memorization easier. Now, let's just make a couple of examples of this. You may look at someone who lives in India, okay? Or you may look at someone who lives in the rural parts of Nigeria, all right, or Ghana, or Uganda, or Pakistan, okay? And these people, you'll find them memorizing all types of books, Kutub Sitta, Musnad Ahmad, Muwatta Malik, this is that. All of these books of Hadith they're memorizing, and one says, "Whoa, this guy's a genius. He has to be a prodigy. How can a person memorize these things like this? It's unheard of. It's like he's living in the times of Imam Bukhari, and he only did it in a few years or a little bit of time." We say oftentimes it's based off of the fact is that they have more appropriate times, they have more barakah, sins, disobedience, and they often have what the next point that the author mentions is ikhtiyar al-makan al-munasib, is to pick the appropriate place. Sometimes you're in a place in which there are too many distractions, too many colors, too many signs, too much electricity, too many waves, Wi-Fi zipping in a million different directions, a commercial, there's an ad, there's a game, there's sports, there's a sound. Everything is always moving in front of your head, and it has an effect upon how much you memorize. But the brother who lives in a rural village, all he has is brown, green, blue, and that's it. The sky, the ground, the forest. That's the only colors that he sees. He doesn't see no Pantene Pro V or Revlon, or he doesn't see a commercial for Gatorade or French's mustard. He doesn't see none of these things. Every 5 seconds it's a commercial. Even if you don't watch TV, you walk down the street, you go into the supermarket, you go to the gas station, you go to the airport to go make a Hajj. You're on the airline. The airplanes, there's commercials. Everywhere you go, you can't avoid commercials. If you don't watch TV, you want to watch a beneficial lecture on YouTube and an ad comes on. Everywhere you look, there's something in your face, some flash, let alone the actual haram things of an uncovered woman, of homosexuals, of a man dressing up like a woman, or whatever the case may be. So these things, they have an effect upon one's memory, and this is all from the wisdoms of traveling and leaving America, leaving Canada, and going somewhere and avoiding your friends and avoiding the television and the satellite dish. You know, the satellite dish is in Saudi Arabia as well. And you'll find just as many commercials there as well. But the point is that sometimes it's easier to get away. But even if you're in Canada, go somewhere which is no electricity. Just try it out for an hour. And no one said you have to make some type of Sufi retreat in the mountains for 3 months. But just try it out. Go somewhere and leave your phone. Leave your tablet. Okay? Leave it in a car and then go walk for 30 minutes and just go where it's calm and quiet. And there's nothing around you but quote unquote nature. And just sit with a book, a pen and a pad, and write and memorize. I guarantee that you will find it so much easier to memorize. You'll find that your mind will be able to flow like the babbling brook that you're sitting in front of. The river or the pond, the lake. You'll see a butterfly moving around or a frog jumping, or this is natural things. Nothing is fake. Nothing is cosmetic. It has an ability on you being calmer, stiller, and your mind just being more lucid. Okay, but oftentimes you may be in a place in which it's so much that's going on. There's so many artificial things in front of you, haram things. You hear music blasting. You're not trying to listen to the music, but someone else is playing. Your neighbor is playing it. And you oftentimes can't memorize. So everyone doesn't have the ability to live in a log cabin in the middle of the forest. Everyone doesn't have the ability to live in the hills of Yemen. Everyone can live in this rural village in India. We know this. But if you do live in the concrete jungle, quote unquote, or you do live in the suburbs and there's so many things going on, then you have to create for yourself that environment. Whether it's a room, okay, a study room, or a corner of your room. And this is why when we were in Yemen, we would see people sitting in the corners memorizing things. They would turn their backs to the corner. Why? We asked ourselves in the beginning, said he's memorizing. He doesn't want no distractions in front of him. He wants to focus on what he's memorizing. Or make for yourself once a week. Or if you have the ability, once a day, daily. Or once a month, once a year, whatever you can, to go and get away from everything that's modern and cosmetic and synthetic. Get away from the plastic and the steal. Get away from it. Just go back to that which Allah created naturally and see how easy it is to memorize. And make sure you pick a good time. And inshallah, the author mentions a good place, which we're going to mention next. Now, with regards to the first point, choosing a good time, then obviously that's relative, that's subjective from person to person. Alhamdulillah, we've spoken about this before as well in different classes. With regards to in the morning time, in the Quran al-Fajr kana mashhuda. Allah says, أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر. Allah tells us to establish the prayer. He tells Muhammad, أقم الصلاة, establish the prayer from basically from Dhuhr time to the night. That's Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha, wa Quran al-Fajr. And the Qira'at al-Fajr, reciting Fajr, or reciting Quran at the Fajr time. That's Fajr prayer. Allah says that the recitation of Fajr is mashhood. The angels attend. So the ulama, they say that it is a blessed time. It's a blessed time in the morning to memorize, all right? Obviously, you have the spiritual benefits, as we just mentioned, just one dalil, there are others with regards to Fajr. And we all know the different ayats and hadith with regards to the morning prayer, the virtue of the Fajr, especially in congregation. Tayyib, what the Prophet said about that prayer. But when we talk about the tangible benefits, the morning time, oftentimes a person, inshallah, is well rested from sleep at night, hopefully. And that's relative. Some people may be nocturnal. Some people may work different jobs. But we're talking about someone in the normal way is that you sleep well. You're rested at night, whether it's a power nap, you make salah at nighttime, qiyam al-layl, you get up, you sleep, or so, whatever the case may be. Inshallah, you're well rested from sleep at night. Tayyib? Then you start your day, bid'nillahi ta'ala. Your mind isn't busy with this and with that. Okay, then we have the concept of eating a good breakfast. And what is a good breakfast? We'll get into that hopefully in another class, another session. What is a good breakfast for a student of knowledge? And what's a bad breakfast? Khairan, inshallah. So therefore, the concept of the morning time being fresh, or the early bird gets the worm, as they say, the sun is rising, it's a pure day. It's not, many people are sleeping. People that were drinking and fornicating, they're sleeping. Much evil is gone. The light has come after the darkness. The day is still considered pure. Bid'nillahi ta'ala. So oftentimes the morning time is a good time to get started on your memorization. Let alone the fact that you're sitting in the masjid after Salat al-Fajr or in your home and you feel that you're starting off your day before you have to go to work or go to school or meet this one or meet that one. Okay? In other words, you knock it out. You get the memory done before you have to deal with the other problems and the other issues of life. So the morning time is considered to be one of the best times for a person to memorize. But we said these are general rules, and one person's good time may another person's bad time. All right? So therefore, in general, the morning is good. But for some people, they may choose the afternoon. Also, Allah Azza wa Jalla talks about the night. Okay? Several ayat in the Quran al-Kareem. Also in Surah Al-Isra, Allah says, tahajjud. Allah, He mentions at the nighttime, He said, نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. Allah talks about praying at night and commanding the Prophet ﷺ to make the tahajjud at nighttime. Indeed, your Lord will sing you on a maqam mahmud. And different interpretations of what the maqam mahmud is, the praiseworthy station. Whether it's the Prophet ﷺ's grand shafa'ah, لِفَصْلِ الْقَضَاء, whether it's him sitting on the throne. Al-Muhim, what the Salaf al-Salih said regarding al-Maqam al-Mahmud. Allah says, at nighttime, they make tahajjud, نَافِلَةً لَكَ, an extra prayer at night. So the barakah of the nighttime, إِنَّ نَاشِيَةَ لَيْلِهِ أَشَدُّ وَطْعًا وَأَقْوَمُ قِيلًا. Allah talks about the nighttime and other verses in the Quran that it is more barakah, it's stronger, it's more potent. So the ulama of Islam, they say in general that from the best times to memorize is in the morning and at nighttime. Now, once again, you're going to have to trim this to your own personal situation. What is meant by the nighttime? 9 p.m., 10:30 p.m., 1 a.m., what's good and what's suitable for you. Keeping in consideration your social obligations, family obligations. You have a wife, you have a husband that you have to be with, children. Okay, you have to work in the morning. You have to be rested. School. All right. You want to pray at nighttime. When you want to sleep, when you want to get up, third part of the night, you have to manage all of these things. Okay, and just what works for you. Somebody may say, I feel too tired at night, so I'd rather memorize in the morning. Somebody may say, I feel good memorizing when I'm tired because it forces me to do it. Or someone may say, when I memorize well before I go to sleep, it soaks in my brain when I'm sleeping and I dream about it, my subconscious. So once again, you have to pick a good time that's good for you. But in general, in the morning and at night. Also, we have Salat al-Asr and the virtue of Salat al-Asr and the benefits of Salat al-Asr with regards to حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. Allah says, strictly guard all prayers and the wusta prayer and stand in front of Allah in total and complete submission. And we all know some of the narrations which explain that the Prophet ﷺ said that Salat al-Wusta is Salat al-Asr. The ulama of the Salaf, they differ tremendously on what Salat al-Wusta is. What's important is many of them say that it is Salat al-Wusta. And the Hadith of Ali radiallahu anhu and others, when the battle of Khaybar, that the Jews prevented them from making the best prayer, the Wusta prayer, the Asr prayer. Also, we have the different hadith with regards to swearing, that a person bought a product for such and such a price, lying to a Muslim to sell him something, the Prophet said in his minbar, and also the Asr prayer, Ba'd al-Asr. So Asr in general is a very important part of the day. It is considered to be the bridge between the day and the night. The malaika, the angels, okay, many different virtues with regards to Salat al-Asr that we don't have the time to mention here. So oftentimes memorizing after Asr is good as well. Also, one may say, from the virtues of memorizing after Salat al-Asr is that a person's energy is balanced and a person's energy can be clearly gauged. It's not early on in the daytime when the energy is high and a person doesn't pace himself and wear himself out. It's not dhuhr time if he wants to take a nap, if he wants to stay up, whatever he wants to do. But it's right in the middle in which he's over the first hump of energy and he came down from the energy and he went back up. He had a nap, he had lunch, whatever. It's right in the middle. Nor is it at nighttime in which the energy is waning and going down. Okay, inshallah. So these are just a few words of wisdom, points of advice. Inshallah ta'ala, in the next class, we'll get to the next point, which is the appropriate place, which we mentioned a few pieces of advice regarding that as well. Allah Azza wa Jalla should know His best. We ask Allah to make it easy for all students of knowledge to be successful.